Hello, everyone. It is Penny and I. She's hiding right now. And I wanted to do a follow up on my series on rape. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it because it's not a sugary type of topic. And to do so would negate my experience. And that's just the way it is. So I had mentioned the repercussions of the assault. Due to the fact I didn't get help, Um, I did end up telling someone, found out that the man who raped me had served time in prison. And it took, I'll tell you, this is kind of the kicker, is I was in touch with Jay and my ex-fiance, which is my first daughter's biological father, and Kay, his wife. Um, we reconnected after about after about 9 years when my daughter was 9 years old. And we reconnected. I was going through a divorce. And my then husband had, although he had signed the birth certificate for my oldest daughter, he said he didn't want to pay child support. So he forced my hand and made me go get paternity too. In an attempt to get, my lawyer said, if you want to get child support for your oldest, it's important to go get paternity. So I did, and located Jay, who ended up being her biological father. And so Jay and Kay at that time had 3 children. My daughter met her step siblings, um, and it was okay for the most part. And then I had, Kay had mentioned, she had told me that the man who raped me um, had served time in prison for raping a pregnant woman. And after that, we never really discussed it. And I asked them, so we reconnected when my daughter was about 9 or 10. And so from the age of 10 on up, I would ask them, because we would communicate on a basis. It was, yeah, pretty much regular. And I said, do you know where Kay is, the man who had raped me? And they said, no, we don't know where he's at. And I said, okay. I said, I really would like to see the affidavit from the rape he committed a year after he raped me. And they said, we don't know where he is. We have no idea how to find it. And then it took until after 20 years when I finally said, I'm going to file for my PTSD as a result of military sexual trauma. I said, I filed with the Fort Lewis Police Department and the Lakewood Police Department because he was an active duty soldier at the time, but he was living in Lakewood, Washington with his then girlfriend and his baby. And so, since the rape took place in Lakewood, I called the Lakewood Police Department and I said, I did tell someone 10 years after the rape occurred, this is her name. She can verify that I did tell her. So then I'm friends with my oldest daughter's then stepmother. And lo and behold, I get a message from her on Facebook. She says, thanks for ruining my relationship with so and so, Kay. I know he hurt you a long time ago, but forgiveness goes a long way. And I said, oh, really? And she blocked me. And she had given me his pseudonym. He went by a different name. And so through her telling me that, I was able to find him on Facebook. And I thought, oh my gosh, not only that, I found out where what VFW post he belonged to. I found out different information. Found out his wife's information. I found him um, on Facebook. Found his wife. Found out information about him on publicinfoservices.com through his real name. I got his phone number, his current address. It was a plethora of information, plus everyone that was related to him, which was his then wife, his son, who is now in his 30s, I was able to find all of that information, but most important, I found his phone number. And I was so nervous, and I thought, well, I'm going to call him and I'm going to see if I can at least get an apology, because in Washington State, the statute of limitations is 20 years. Now it's after 20 years plus after the fact. So it's not like he can serve time in prison for my rape. And I know, see, she agrees too. And so I had all of his information. Plus, on Public Info Services, it shows the record, the court records, and so his subsequent rape was listed on there as well. And I decided I'm gonna try to call him to see if I can get an apology, an acknowledgement, anything. And I dialed and he answered and I hung up because I was so nervous. I was shaking. So I had my one cell phone on speaker in one hand and an old cell phone with a camera right above me so I could record the conversation. And I was literally shaking. And finally he answered. He said, "Hey, this is so and so." And I said, "Hi, this is, my name is blank. Do you remember me?" He said, "No." I said, "Do you remember HHC 9th Cav Brigade?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, we were in I think I said something about the military." I said, "Do you remember Jay?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm friends with him." And I said, "Oh my God." I didn't say it, but I thought, oh my gosh. And then I said, "I was engaged to Jay in the military." He said, "No, Jay married Kay." I said, "No, before Jay married Kay, I was engaged to Jay." And Kay hung up the phone. And I thought, oh, he knows. He knows who I am. And so I tried to call him back and I left messages and I said, "I'm just looking to get an acknowledgement. You can't get into trouble. You know, if you can just take a few minutes to gather your thoughts, I'll call back. So hopefully we can have a conversation." And he didn't. He didn't call. I ended up reaching out to his current wife, the VFW Post, to say, "Hey, by the way, this man, is convicted of rape. He also raped me as well while we served in the military." And I did it. And I had gone to Washington State. I think I called him, I think it was in December. And then subsequently, I had a trip planned to Washington State in January. I think it was in January. I don't remember the dates, but I planned to go to Washington State, to go to Fort Lewis, so I could wrap up and face my fears, go to the apartment where the assault took place, face my fears, face my traumas, and then come home. And hopefully I would be able to put that chapter of my life to rest. And so I came back from Washington State, where Kay currently lives, and within a week I was getting a call from this guy who was trying to serve me in my area. And he says, "Well, are you so and so?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "I'm trying to serve you." And I thought, okay, I thought I was getting served because my oldest daughter had a vehicle. I didn't know she was paying on it. And so I thought it was from the bank. And I said, "Well, I'll just pick it up." And so I drove to Waukesha, where the service, company was located, and handed me the documentation. And it was his name, filing a notice of harassment against me. And I was so shocked, because here I am, a plaintiff in a case against, or the defendant against, the man who raped me. And here I am, and it says the court case was within a week and a half after I arrived back the first time from Fort Lewis. And now I'm supposed to appear in court to fight this notice of harassment. So I don't have anything on my record, because I'm not the one. So I called, I got a lawyer in Washington. I I flew back within a couple of days. I was heading back to Washington State. And I messaged the judge. I said, "This is the first time I'll be seeing the man who raped me in court. Can you please have additional security?" And they did. And I live, our courthouse is in, where I used to live was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's a huge courthouse. And you go through, there's, it's huge. In Belfair, Washington, the courthouse is so small. I walked in, I had a lawyer, walked into the basement and down, down a flight of stairs. It was like a library almost type situation. It was really small. And so we walked to the right, and sitting at the bottom of the stairs was this lawyer. It was his lawyer. He wasn't there yet. And we're sitting kind of towards the courtroom, which is just a small room. And the next thing you know, I hear his voice, and he's talking to his lawyer. And I said, oh, here we go. And I was able, it was my first time after 20 plus years that not only was I going to see the man who raped me, but I was going to be able to state my truth and what had happened to me. And so that's the next chapter in this story. I can't believe I did it. I did it by myself. And before I left, after I got served, I was at the VA every single night in their mental health clinic saying, I can't do this. I can't sleep. I don't know what I'm going to be facing. It is, I don't know how, I don't know what I'm walking into. And so I don't know if I'm going to be able to state my case. I don't know if I'm going to get an apology. I don't know how this is going to go. I was trying to Google people who had gone to court to face the people who had raped them. And I was trying to gather my thoughts, but I did it by myself. And I'll tell you, it was one of the scariest things I had ever faced. I can't believe I survived. I'm telling you right now, if you have been a victim of assault, it is by far the questions that never get answered are very challenging. In this world, there are some cruel people. And through it all, I did find saving grace. So I'll talk about that next. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a series, but but I'll be back, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.